Okay, Jackie, so I want to get a little bit of your opinion on
Sure.
what are some things that buyers can do, for example, like downsizers, to get ready for this market?
Easy. Downsizers, no stairs. Upsizers, tons of stairs. No, that makes sense because upsizers, if
No,
you're
it's
willing
true.
to
No,
go
no, it's
tons
true.
of stairs, like
It's
3-story level townhouse,
It's
ton of stairs, you're gonna get it at a much better price,
Yeah,
right? And it's like open concept, high tall ceiling.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
perfect for upsizers, right?
yeah.
It's always about the stairs.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another market update. I'm Paul Sugimura,
And I'm Jackie.
and here we are to kind of do a 2025 wrapped, talk about sort of the opportunities we see coming in 2026, and to talk a little bit about December as well. So for December, the average price was 1,067,000 and change. There was 62,000 total listings, down 11% year over year. And the total sales for December was 3,697, down 9% from year over year. And of those 3,697 sales, 1,029 were condos. So just kind of taking a pulse on December. December generally is pretty historically slow month, right, Jackie?
Yep.
Yeah, so there's a lot happening. Obviously, people have holidays. The weather, especially being in Toronto, is not the greatest.
The weather was horrible.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
been very cold recently too. So that also kind of is the reason why we see that the driver for the sales being a lot lower. But now it's 2026, and 2025 is kind of behind us. It was a really rough year, but I think overall we're pretty optimistic. What do you think, Jackie?
I think it's looking great so far in the month of January. I do see a lot of transactions happening. What do you think? Do you find that?
Yeah, for my side, we're pretty fortunate. So just recently did a lease, and then my had a sale as well done recently with my clients. So we bought in the Bursey area as well.
Oh,
so
nice.
Townhouse, yeah, thanks.
That's a very nice area.
Yeah, so freehold and then also condos, and then even my listing as well, which was a little bit more dormant come December. We've already seen quite an uptick in showing. So how about on your side?
We had 2 condos sold this week.
Awesome.
And we actually, the days on market for average condo is 44 days. We actually sold one within 10 days. So
Wow.
that's a really good sign. And we sold it, the highest price per foot in the past 6 months.
That's awesome.
That's
That's
amazing.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, so I think we can generally see that the market has started to shift. What do you think might be the reason why, Jackie, do we see from December to January? For people who aren't really too familiar with real estate, how come, December to January we start to see more people?
Well, December, we see there's, holidays, Christmas coming, and New Year's coming. So usually it's a slower time of the year. And, Bank of Canada is going to announce, their next rate announcements on January 28th. And, that's where a lot of times buyers will try to buy. If they forecast the rates is going to go down, they're going to start going into the market earlier.
On the buyer side, we're seeing a lot more buyers kind of jumping into the market. What do you think are some of the reasons why?
So yeah, I think buyers are already accepted the fact with the high interest, and we do see the interest rate coming down. I think one of my clients just renewed their mortgage at 3.5% with RBC, like 5-year variable too.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, interest rates are like tolerable now.
Yeah, I think everyone's sort of getting close to this like understanding that this is sort of the new norm, and that like I think we talked about this before on a previous pod, but like sort of the days of it being like that 0.5 or even like 1.5 or probably not going to come back.
Yeah.
But I think people are now consumers are adjusting their spending habits.
Yeah.
And kind of banking and sort of budgeting for this interest rate.
Especially when the times where we're getting like 6%, 6 point something percent in interest rate, and that's usually the rate that we used to get for like a B lender.
Right.
So then now coming back down to like a 3% or so, it's a lot more acceptable, and the price per like for these home values has adjusted.
Yes.
A lot, yes.
Right. I think the market is slowly starting to get back up on its feet. It's not going to be like how it used to be where the interest rate and you'd see like such an uptick. I think it's sort of a slow climb, but I think people are like, now's the time if you're looking to buy, like this is like the great time, right?
I think it's a good time to buy if you're buying it for self-use, like upsizing or first-time home buyer or downsizing. But if you're an investor, to be very honest, I wouldn't even.
I agree with you.
Enter anything yet.
Yeah,
still.
I think the 4 buyers that I'm working with right now currently are all first-time home buyers. Actually.
Yeah, exactly.
So to your point, right?
First-time home buyer I see a lot, and a lot of upsizers.
Yes.
Like, and people who are they're selling like in terms of listing because they have like something closing, like a pre-construction closing.
So Jackie, on my side, working with a lot of buyers, and I know you're working with buyers as well. Like, have you started to notice a lot of sales coming or sellers?
Well, I do see a lot of listings coming back on the market.
Yeah.
Like I have like 2 listings that came on the market this week, and The reason why, like I said, next week or on the 28th of January, that's when Bank of Canada will make their next rate announcement. So that's why they're trying to list a week prior to the rate announcement.
yeah.
And, with the whole cold weather, all the season, all the exchange, everything is over now. So I do see, the seller's market or the listing starts coming back up. And I do see like, showings rates start increasing
Yeah.
for the lease and also for sales.
Yep, I've definitely noticed a lot of lease clients too, sort of starting to come out of the woodwork too. I think even with regards to people kind of putting their properties up for sale, I think a lot of people are now starting to come up for refinancing now. Too.
Exactly.
That's one big thing I've noticed with a few clients.
Yep. I actually see, I'm not sure how you saw it, but the past month, usually month of December is slower.
Yes.
But I do see the rental rates actually came down a little bit. I'm not sure if you see that.
Yeah, I saw that too. I think over my side, I have two people who are currently looking to rent right now, and I have noticed it hasn't dropped substantially, but I have noticed that there has been a little bit of a drop off in the pricing.
Yeah, a little bit of adjustment, right?
Yeah.
And it's so funny because there was another condo that was just closed by Yonge and Finch area. And first day it was listed, it had 2 listings. And then 24 hours later when I looked, there was like 20 something. And then the next day I looked, there was like 50 something. So then,
wow.
like it's getting really competitive right now. What I see in the condo market for rentals.
Do you think the driver is because those people have maybe they purchased at pre-con and then they right? So maybe they don't want to sell at a lower, they don't want to sell at a loss. So they're thinking.
So with pre-construction, if they try to sell within that first year, they're gonna lose that HST, which is like around $24,000.
Right.
So a lot of times the buyer or the sellers will actually hold it for a year, rent it out for a year, get the HST back, right, and then recover as much as they can, and then sell in a year after.
Right.
Yeah.
So Jackie,
Yes.
I got to know,
Yeah.
what are some tips that you suggest for buyers who maybe want to go from a condo to a freehold?
Wow, that's a really good question, Paul. As you know, condo market has, did quite a lot of adjustments in terms of pricing. So for a condo to jump to like a townhouse or like a detached home will be a lot tougher. So, however, I do see a scenario where I have an investor client that recently bought a bungalow detached home with a separate entrance.
Oh, nice.
Okay. And with, I think he was putting 30% down, and there's a cash flow positive per month. So maybe if I don't know what type of size or the layout is for your client. If they have like a 2-bedroom, a 1-bedroom probably won't work because of the price difference. Let's say if you have a bedroom and a den or a 2-bedroom unit, maybe you're able to sell and transition into a detached bungalow, maybe even a semi. Right, with a separate entrance, and you can rent out the basement.
Or you get some cash flow.
Exactly, like easily a basement you can rent. Let's say in Richmond Hill or Markham area, a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom basement apartment. You can get like $16 to $1,800 a month.
Minimum, yeah.
That can offset partial
the
of your
costs
mortgage.
to help you so you could get there a little bit
Exactly,
quicker.
exactly.
That's awesome.
That's what I would suggest.
Okay, Jackie, so I want to get a little bit of your opinion on
Sure.
what are some things that buyers can do, for example, like downsizers, to get ready for this market?
Easy. Downsizers, no stairs. Upsizers, tons of stairs. No, that makes sense because upsizers, if
No,
you're
it's
willing
true.
to
No,
go
no, it's
tons
true.
of stairs, like
It's
3-story level townhouse,
It's true.
shit ton of stairs, you're gonna get it at a much better price,
Yeah,
right? And it's like open concept, high tall ceiling.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
perfect for upsizers, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Number one thing for downsizers in terms of how old they are, how long are they thinking of moving in that one place, right? A lot of downsizers, which I find they're not really senior, but they're getting it to the senior level. A lot of times where they are living in a detached house, maybe the size is too big, but then they want to downsize to something smaller, but then they still want a 2-story home. Or are they downsizing where, oh, Jackie, I'm tapped out, there's no more stairs.
Right.
So they might want to look for a bungalow or they want to look for a condo.
Yeah.
So it really depends on what they want for the next 5 or for the next 10 years first.
Right. It's actually funny that you mentioned that because I'm actually working with a client right now.
Yeah.
Their family, they're a little bit older now and they can't actually do stairs. So what we're actually looking at is first floor units that are like two bedrooms, high ceilings, still sort of feeling that like, hey, not necessarily like, because at first they were like, oh, maybe we want like a 1+. And I said, look, like your parents are going from a house to a 1+, like going from like 2,000 square feet to 600 is not going to work for them, right? But sort of maybe finding that option of having a first story unit, which still having the high ceilings, you still have your 12, 13 foot ceilings in some cases,
Right.
And still having enough area, like
Yep.
800, 900 square feet around, so that they still feel like, hey, we're not so like just boxed in.
Right.
I think that's something definitely for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So, Paul, let me ask you now, any tips for first-time home buyers?
Yeah, so I think one thing that first-time home buyers aren't necessarily aware of is the actual costs associated with closing a property. So, previous video I talked about sort of about the double land transfer tax if you buy in Toronto, or if you buy like if you versus buying Markham, for example, you only pay that one land transfer tax. But I think there's also other closing costs that people aren't necessarily used to. For example, you have your property tax, right? You have your lawyer fees, things of that nature. So I think it's very important to be prepped and know what your closing costs are.
So, Paul, I've been getting like friends messaging or people DMing, and they want us to talk about a specific neighborhood and what's good, the pros and cons about that neighborhood. What do you think?
Drop in the comments what neighborhood you want us to talk about, and stay tuned because we will be dropping this series very soon.